Verse 1 of Exodus. What if they don't believe me? Well, let's then play with our imagination today and not worry about belief. Belief is something that is not always the best thing when interpreting a book. Let's just try to see it as a book and imagine that the writer was fucking with us. There is that possibility. We have to play with the possibility that whoever wrote the book had not intended for it to be a Bible, had intended it to be a book. And they might have thought, wouldn't it be funny to make a fairy tale with hidden meanings in it that were blatantly sexual to the point of outrageously violent pornography? Why would anybody want to do that? Well, perhaps they would do it because they knew it was being written as a religious book, and they wanted to be clear about the fact that there was something wrong with this religious book. Okay, and if this is a motivation of one of the writers in the book, then you might be able to understand that. I'm sure there's been so many people have made jokes about this and not really believed it themselves. The most frightening thought, the rod of Moses was his dick. I quite often said Moses was a dick, and I think now, I believe he was obsessed with his dick. And this isn't meant to be a joke. Okay, I mean, think about it. He goes, and we're gonna have to skip a, no, we'll have to say it when we say it. Wait. Okay, we'll touch on the glove trick. He puts his hand in his pocket and he pulls it out and it's white, and then he puts it back in again and pulls it out and it's normal. And this could mean anything, and I don't even want to dwell on it. And the other one was, if they didn't believe the snake becoming hard when you picked it up by the end. Okay, this doesn't have to be the penis. It could be just as a trick, like they say it. Okay, maybe it could be. Okay, and then you get the glove hand trick, and then you get the water of the Nile on the ground. Okay, now this could be Moses taking a big piss after he's had a wank in front of the crowd or in front of the Pharaoh, and catch the meaning in this. Don't cut it out before we explain it. And then he takes a big piss, but we don't have to talk about that. But it's a dry red sand, so when he pisses on the ground, it looks like blood. Not a big trick, but if you're a fucking idiot, it would be impressive. And a lot of those people they didn't have books. They didn't have books. They couldn't read. They couldn't write. They were given nothing to think. They didn't even have entertainment to brainwash them. All they had was work. They were working day and night, and that's all they knew was their work, and they knew nothing above that. And they were always believing in some kind of gods, and the god of fear was one of the big ones. And of course, the dictators like to use that. But we'll skip along. Moses kept telling his God that he didn't want to speak, and this I hinted at or made obvious in the last version, the last one or two, that he couldn't speak Hebrew, and that was a big problem facing the Hebrews. And so they make a big deal of it, but God finally says, his God says in verse 16, Aaron shall serve as your spokesman, with you playing the role of God to him. Okay, so Aaron was going to be the spokesman, but Moses was going to play the role of God. And oddly enough, it says playing the role of God to him. And that sounds to me just like simple blatant truth. But we'll skip along to verse 17. And take with you this rod. Okay. If this wasn't mentioned so many times, I might have not stumbled over it. But if you think about the nature of a little boy when he's, I don't know, somewhere between the ages of 6 and 60, sometimes he gets on his rod and there's nothing else. Nothing else in the universe matters except for him and his penis. And this could be it could be as simple as explaining Moses masturbating, but we'll get on to his meeting with the Pharaoh and what it could mean. But first we'll do touch on verse 20. Moses took the rod of God with him. Okay, so now we've mentioned the rod 3 or 4 times, but Moses didn't forget his rod. And, okay, wait a second.